British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Welcome into your 1:30 news report. I'm your host, Elijah Ford. Tensions were running high at a public information meeting for Richmond residents who may be affected by a court ruling granting a Vancouver Island First Nation group over 750 acres of land in the Metro Vancouver City. One resident asked city officials why he has to pay taxes if he doesn't own his land, to which the city solicitor responded that the man is still the fee simple owner of his property. The court ruling says the granting of private titles by the government unjustifiably infringed on the Cowichan tribe's Aboriginal title, and the province owes them a duty to negotiate how to reconcile it with Crown-granted private ownership. The First Nation has accused provincial and municipal governments of spreading misinformation, saying its case didn't seek to overturn private property titles. Yesterday, the Prince of Wales whale watching group claimed they were involved with the death of a humpback whale when one of its vessels struck the mammal near Keats Island. Emma Shaparsky is a researcher with Cetus Conservation Society. She talked about the recent incident.
I mean, any high-speed craft is going to have an acoustic footprint and also a physical footprint. So it's unsurprising to me that this occurred. It's actually surprising it didn't happen sooner. The highest concentration of humpbacks in that area is this time of year. It's in the fall. It's not in the summer, as a lot of people think. They're all kind of slowly moving out of the BC feeding grounds, out into their migration routes. So it's super dense. And when you have a vessel going 30, 40 knots, the reaction time is just not there.
Police in Delta say a woman has died after her vehicle crashed on Highway 17. Officials say they were called Sunday at about 11:20 p.m. after reports of a crash and subsequent vehicle fire. They say that despite the efforts of emergency personnel, the woman was pronounced dead at the scene. Police and the coroner's service are both investigating the incident. New Statistics Canada figures show drug offenses for possession dropped significantly between 2014 and 2024, largely due to the legalization of cannabis in 2018. A report on trends in police-reported drug crime says there were 70,000 cannabis offenses in 2014 compared to fewer than 9,000 last year. The agency says Canada's drug crime rate has been declining overall for 12 years. Though there was a notable uptick between 2023 and 2024 with increases in possession and trafficking charges involving cannabis, cocaine, and opioids. BC had the third highest drug crime rate in Canada last year with 251 incidents per 100,000 residents, while the Northwest Territories had the highest rate with nearly 2,600 incidents per 100,000 residents. Another Abbotsford area commercial poultry farm has been found with the avian flu. The case is the 10th detected in the province's Fraser Valley in the last 2 weeks, according to a list posted by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. They mark the first new outbreaks confirmed in the province since last January. 6 of the recent outbreaks are located on Chilliwack area farms, and 4 are in Abbotsford. Construction has started in Victoria on a monument park honoring Japanese Canadians who were forcibly displaced and interned during the Second World War. The park is being developed by the province in partnership with the Japanese Canadian Legacy Society. The society says 22,000 Japanese Canadians were uprooted from their homes and communities in 1942 and stripped of all properties and possessions. The province says the park centerpiece will be a wall of names honoring those who were displaced, as well as the 3,000 children born after the uprooting. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney and U.S. President Donald Trump appeared to exchange pleasantries in South Korea, where they attended a dinner of world leaders today. It is the first time the two were seen together since Trump pulled the plug on trade talks with Canada over a U.S. television ad paid for by the Ontario government that criticizes tariffs. The pair smiled and pointed fingers at each other during the dinner hosted by South Korean President Lee Jae-myung.
I'd like to thank everybody. I know you all either reasonably well or very well. And we had a tremendous meeting today with South Korea.
Trump and Carney have been in Asia for several days, but had not seen each other or spoken since the latest trade rift began. Canada Post is laying off an unspecified number of managers as part of a corporate restructuring that started earlier this year. Brenda Molina-Navidad has all the latest details.
Canada Post told workers in a letter that Canadians have changed the way they use the postal service, and the company must change with them. The layoffs come as Canada Post works to reach a new contract with its roughly 55,000 unionized employees. They've been taking part in rotating strikes after Ottawa last month introduced sweeping changes to the company's mandate that allow for adjustments in delivery standards and more. Canada Post and the union have said they plan to meet this week with a mediator to try and move forward talks that have dragged on for nearly 2 years. Brenda Molina-Navidad, The Canadian Press.
Tech giant NVIDIA has become the world's first $5 trillion company just 3 months after the Silicon Valley chipmaker was the first to break through the $4 trillion barrier. The appetite for NVIDIA's chips is the main reason that the company's stock price has increased so rapidly since early 2023. On Wednesday, the shares touched $207.86 in early morning trading, with 24.3 billion shares outstanding, putting its market cap at $5.05 trillion. The Trump administration has been signaling that it may have finally reached a deal with China to keep TikTok running in the U.S., with the two countries finalizing the details as soon as tomorrow. President Donald Trump is visiting South Korea, where he will meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping to try to de-escalate a trade war. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told CBS's Face of the Nation Sunday that the two leaders will consummate that transaction on Thursday in Korea. The deal would mark the end of months of uncertainty about the fate of the popular video-sharing platform in the U.S. Uber said today that the San Francisco Bay Area will be the first market for its specially built autonomous taxi, which is expected to launch in late 2026. The San Francisco-based ride-hailing company said in July it was developing a robo-taxi with the electric car company Lucid and the self-driving technology company Nuro Incorporated. Uber said it plans to have 100 test vehicles on the road in the coming months. Within 6 years, Uber plans to deploy 20,000 or more Lucid-based autonomous taxis in multiple locations. The vehicles will be owned and operated by Uber and available to riders through the Uber app. General Motors is another one of the latest companies to announce major layoffs. Reporter Mike Dubusky has more on the automaker's future plans.
General Motors is laying off more than 1,700 workers and temporarily laying off about 1,500 more. Starting in January, the automaker is cutting production from 2 shifts down to 1 at its Factory Zero plant in Detroit. That's the facility which makes electric versions of the Chevy Silverado, GMC Sierra, and Cadillac Escalade. In the meantime, GM will pause production at Factory Zero for about a month as it considers the future of electric vehicle demand in the U.S. Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
Hurricane Melissa has left a trail of destruction across Cuba, Haiti, and Jamaica. The storm made landfall yesterday in Jamaica as a Category 5 hurricane with winds reaching 185 miles per hour. Officials say at least 40 people have died across Haiti. In Cuba, officials report collapsed houses and blocked roads with 735,000 people in shelters. Jamaica faces widespread power outages and communication blackouts. The U.S. is sending rescue teams to assist. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel warns of significant damage, urging people not to underestimate the storm's power. A Paris prosecutor says 2 suspects in the Louvre jewel heist have admitted their involvement in the theft. They are believed to be the men who forced their way into the world's most visited museum and took jewels valued at 88 million euros. Laure Bacow told a news conference today that the 2 men arrested on Saturday face preliminary charges for theft committed by an organized gang and criminal conspiracy. It took the thieves less than 8 minutes to steal the jewels in broad daylight on October 19th, shocking the world. The jewels have not yet been recovered. Moving into sports quick, the Toronto Blue Jays are back in action tonight for Game 5 of the World Series in Los Angeles. The Blue Jays are coming off a convincing 6-2 win led by Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s 2-run home run at the top of the 3rd inning. Dodgers manager Dave Roberts says the Blue Jays are a resilient group.
They came back fighting, caught an early lead, and Bieber, does what he does and used the cutter, spun us, minimized damage, limited traffic, and we really didn't get a whole lot of good swings.
Rookie Trey Savage will be starting as the Blue Jays look to grab a 3-2 lead in the series. The Dodgers counter with two-time Cy Young winner Blake Snell, who took the loss in Game 1. Detroit Lions superstar pass rusher Aiden Hutchinson has agreed to a 4-year extension with the team, which will make him the highest-paid non-quarterback by guaranteed money in NFL history. Hutchinson, the number 2 pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, has tallied 34.5 sacks for Detroit in 46 games played. He was also voted to the Pro Bowl in 2023 and is currently tied for 3rd in Defensive Player of the Year odds. The Toronto Raptors look to end their 3-game skid tonight as the Houston Texans take the trip up north. The Raptors are sitting at 1-3 through their first 4 games, allowing their opponents to score over 125 points per game. The Rockets, led by future Hall of Famer Kevin Durant, have had a disappointing start to a year which had large preseason expectations. Tip-off is set for 3:30 this afternoon. The sun has finally poked its head out in Burnaby today. A nice mix of sun and clouds are expected over the weekend and into next week. Unfortunately, it is set to rain on Halloween night, Friday. Temperatures are expected to hit a high of 13 today and a low of 5 going into the night. Thank you so much for tuning in to your 1:30 news report. I've been Elijah Ford, reporting for BCIT's The Crow radio broadcast.
When I tell people that I studied journalism, they immediately say, oh, you want to be a reporter. But I think, in my case personally, I really want to go into magazines, PR, social media. And I think here at school we learn a lot of skills that allow you to go into that world, because you learn how to write for social media, social content, for websites,